Thanks to topsport.com.au. We're doing the Melbourne racing preview. I'm joined by Trevor Lawson. How are you, Trev?
Good, Mark.
Back to Caulfield tomorrow. Sun's out at the moment. It's Friday morning. We're recording. Any thoughts on the conditions and the track for tomorrow?
I haven't had a look at it yet. I'll have a look at it later this morning. But the rail's out 9 metres, so I was out not around that range a while ago, and there was a bit of marking, but they haven't raced there for a while. You'd think it'd be all right. They've given the track out as a good four this morning, so I'd say it'd be, basically a winter good track. I think it'll just be pretty good nick. I think the only issues tomorrow, they're predicting northerly wind, which sort of blows into their face up the side, on the corner, and they're saying it should get to 25 to 35 k's, which sort of just may affect the leaders a little bit.
Yeah, so it makes it hard for those right into it out the front.
Yeah, so sometimes you just sort of want a bit of cover. So it'd be interesting just to see them walk the track, and if you thought the inside wasn't going to be the place to be, you might sort of want to be drawn off the track with a bit of cover, but we'll sort of have a look at it and make a decision on which way we go.
No worries. All right, we'll have a bit of a look at the quaddie legs and just see get your thoughts on them. So race 6 is the handicap over 1,100 metres, and just looking at Top Sports Market, looks to be basically a race in 3 at the moment. Newsgirl $3.30, Hawker Hurricane at $4, and Tavasan at $6. The rest are $12 or greater. How's your market look at the moment?
So I've got Tavasan favourite. So Tavasan and Newsgem met each other last start. And Tavasan stayed hard on the inside, which wasn't the place to be. And Newsgirl was sort of out in the better going. And Newsgirl sort of is drawn sort of very wide this time. So I'm not sure what he's going to do. The kid, he might sort of get caught wide. So
it's Lewis German on Newsgirl.
Yeah, he's got a good record on the horse. He has won 3 races this prep on the horse. But Tavasan was sort of the one I sort of liked, just, thought third run in, home track, and sort of find the front. But I just want to have a look at the track and sort of make a decision there. But so I had it favourite from Newsgirl. I think Newsgirl's will drift from the 340, it seems, or 330, it seems pretty short odds. And Hawker Hurricane, I've sort of got it equal third pick, but I thought it was short enough at sort of $4. And the $4 range, I've sort of got it in the $8 range. It ran fair first up, and sort of had a couple of runs in Sydney when I riding it. Led the other day at Warrnambool and sort of had every possible. The winner order of command sat sort of 3 wide outside. It was 62 and went straight past it. So I thought there was a couple of middle pinners had chances. Ashlaw, he's sort of a consistent horse. He sort of racing all right. He'll roll forward.
And $13 at the moment, Ashlaw.
Yeah, I think it's not bad odds. The one that's I've just put it in, just under its market price is I Am Someone. It's definitely got the figures, but it's first up. On my figures, it's arguably the best horse in the race. He was sort of doing 61s in 2018. It's done 61 here last year in April, in a listed race. Ran second to Miss Leonidas, which was flying at the time. It won the Mongoom last year, which Hawker Hurricane ran third in. And then it had a break, and then it had 2 runs and didn't do anything. It ran down the straight and ran last. It wasn't really suited, and then it went to Moonee Valley and drew off the track, and it wasn't suited. And then it's had 218 days off. He's put his jockey on. Declan Bates, they've got a good record together. So, fortunately, because of the COVID-19, there hasn't been as many jump outs and that. So it basically hasn't had an official jump out. Excuse me, so it's a bit hard to know how it's going. But the market will be sort of some sort of guide there. So at the moment, I sort of got it in at $10 and it's, $16. Yeah. It could run 40s or it could run, $10. So it's just one of those things you sort of just, with horses like that, in that sort of situation, that's when you sort of let the market tell you what price they should be. So you just sort of, if it drifts, I'll just sort of follow the market out with it and still, if I bet in the race, I'll still save on it or have it a small winner. And if it sort of starts to shorten, well, then I'll sort of back it.
No worries. All right. We'll jump over to race 7 and have a look, which is over the 1,600 metres, benchmark 84. Sikorsky, pretty heavy favourite at the moment with Top Sport, $2.30s from No Say In It, $7.50, Pure Scott $8.50, and Something Silver at $9.50. You got Sikorsky that short?
I've got it around the $3 mark, just over sort of $3. It is flying. Again, it just looks a little bit, short in the market, but the percentages there around 125. So we'll sort of see what happens. There's an overseas horse having its first start here for Kieran Maher, Bartholomew Dias. I've just basically put it in its time form rating. So it was basically 103, 104 horse time form, which equates on my figures to about 57 horse. I put it in, it makes it sort of $17. The market's got it around $10. So you're just sort of guessing with those 2 horses. But Sikorsky was sort of, one I'd sort of be interested in. No Say In It was okay first up in the small field in Ballarat. I got it sort of slightly long of the market. Pure Scott's racing well, sort of got it around what price it is. Connery I thought was good odds.
$14.
Yeah, I've got it $9. It wasn't suited, that bias track at Sandown when Shot Irish led all the way. In early May, it wasn't suited that day, sort of pulled out and got into the worst going. So it ran on really well against the bias. Storm Barrier 1 here, it's going to have a cosy run on the fence. I thought it was good odds. If I could sort of bet in the race, I'd sort of like to back the favourite and it.
Okay. So one shorty and one at a bit of value. So might be worth a look tomorrow.
Yeah, well, it's still, there hasn't been no scratchings. So at the moment, so it's sort of, you're pricing sort of 15 horses. And takes up a percentage.
No worries. All right. Race 8's another benchmark 84 over the 1,400. Top Sports market, Jumbo Asaki, $3.90 favourite from Victoria Star, $4.60, First Emergency, Heptagon, $7.50, price range also $7.50, Kaplumpich, $8, and Viral, $9.50. Pretty crowded market. What about you?
So at the moment, what I've done is I've priced all 18 runners. There's 6 emergencies. There's sort of 1 scratching outside emergencies, so there's still sort of 4 more horses to come out of this race. And we've got we've got 4 overseas horses having their first starts here.
Sounds like a pretty tough race.
Yeah. So basically what I've done is interesting. Basically what I've done is I've just put them in at their time form ratings and just to start with, and then I'll sort of look again and sort of make a decision on, what sort of distance range they're running on with their time form ratings. But the interesting thing is the horse that's the shortest in the market, I've got it the longest of the 3 horses. So, which is price range of sort of $16. It's $8, and I sort of had Biometric, Mount Popper, and I could do better, much shorter than the market. But yeah, the market with those horses again, the market's a bit of a guide, so I'll sort of be pushing those out. Outside those horses, and I'm sort of prepared to risk those horses. I had Jumbo Azaki favourite, but with every horse and all those horses, the market got it sort of 750. So I'm going to have it a lot shorter than that, but I don't doubt I would get it as short as the market.
No.
The horse that's in the market that I didn't really like was Victoria Star. It's a consistent horse. It ran well first up. It produced a rating of sort of 55. On my figures, that's basically what it does. It did 55, winning at Cranbourne by a short half head. Its last run before its last prep. I've got it $30 at the moment. That may come in a little bit, but at $4.60, I couldn't possibly entertain it. So it's probably not going to be. It's probably going to be a no bet race unless I can sort of find some middle pinners, which I'm sort of doubting because sort of Jumbo might be too short, and you sort of haven't got much else in the market. So there's still a bit of work to do with that race.
No worries. All right, we'll jump straight over to race 9, which is a handicap over the 2,000 metres. And yeah, pretty wide open here. Top Sport got Hangman, $6 favourite from Super Titus at $6.50, Girl Tuesday and Maha Amadeus at $7, and Inverloch at $7.50.
So I'm wide open in this race at the moment, but I've got Muhammad A's favourite. Nearly won the other day. It would have been a nice over for anyone that bet in the race at Flemington. It's got a good record at this trip. Races well here. And from sort of barrier 6, it might be able to settle in front of a few. So I've got it sort of $6.50 favourite. So top sport is $7 at the moment, so we're sort of around the mark there. Hangman, I've got second pick. I've got it slightly longer than the market. I think just the track was too wet for it the other day, and he rode it close at Caulfield, I think, and I think it's probably looking for the 2,000. So this is sort of better start for it. Having said that, it is drawn barrier 14 and probably go back from the barriers. So be interesting to see how the track walks, whether that's going to be an advantage or not for it. Super Titus was good the other day. He's a funny horse, Super Titus. He's a former import, and in his he had one run in March 2019, and then he was brought back for the spring last year. He ran okay first up, and then he went super here at Caulfield over 1,700 and produced a figure of 60 on mine figures. I'm really keen on him the next start. He sort of over-raced and didn't do anything, and then he basically just went backwards. He sort of got beat. He sort of went up in class, but he was getting beaten 7 lengths, nearly 12 lengths, 5 lengths. Then he came back, resumed at Chuka, in the Chuka Cup and was fair, and then he sort of ran Caulfield was okay, and he was sort of fair again, and then he sort of ran really well the other day. Just not sure whether he's that's sort of consistent, but letting him return that figure he did the other day have sort of got him still ran in 11 double figures, so he may sort of drift. Inverloch, he's not sure what to do with him either because he was racing really well this track and distance, and he ran well in the Mornington Cup. Then he sort of stepped up to 2,400, and then he went to Warrnambool, and he was poorly weighted at Warrnambool. I didn't like him at all, but he settled handy and he sort of over-raced a little bit, but then he just dropped right out. Now, sometimes they over-race and late in preps because they want to get it over and done with because they've had enough. So, yeah, I sort of came off it. I'll sort of be happy to risk it a little bit. And it's just one of those conundrums. On its best figures, you could definitely sort of half want to be on it, but in the back of my mind is it might have had enough. It's already had 7 runs this prep. Yes, it's been going around since the 8th of February, so it might be
Yeah.
getting near the limit a little bit. So I thought it was a risk. Girl Tuesday, it's a back marker, so it'll want some sort of pattern in its favour. It gets a long way back. It sort of won a couple of races in Sydney, came to Melbourne, last year, Cox Plate Day in the last race of the day. It ran terrific. The mile race, and then went to the Matriarch on the last day, I think it is, and was flying, sort of got back and never got in the race. It was really heavily back that day behind H&X. And sort of first up, it didn't do anything. Second up, it ran on okay. And then last start, it got a long way back and ran on okay. But yeah, sort of jury's sort of out with it a little bit. So I thought Muhammad Ace, it is a get-back horse, but it's sort of racing well. Hangman's sort of around the mark, and then the other two are a little bit short in the market. So again, it's just a little bit of work to do with that race. Sort of tinker around a little bit and see if we can find a bet.
No worries. All right. Well, it's almost officially winter. We'll be about a day out, but it looks like a pretty reasonable tracking conditions, and hopefully a few bets tomorrow.
Yeah, well, generally in the last couple of years over the winter, because they sort of just tend to race at Flemington and then sort of Caulfield, the tracks are quite good in the winter.
Yep.
People pot sort of Melbourne weather a bit, but we don't generally have that much rain. And if you get a bit of wind, it can dry out a little bit. So, it's just been nice to sort of get back onto a better track. I've had a few pretty, Flemington last week was pretty wet, and there hasn't been that many tracks like that at Flemington for years and years and years. So it sort of can play a little havoc with the form. So it'd be nice to sort of get back to Caulfield, and basically should have a pretty even surface.
Sounds good. All right, no worries. We'll look out for your stuff tomorrow morning, and good luck. We'll chat next week.
Great. Thanks, mate.
Cheers.